This video is going to be about something I had to make for my truck. I had a flat tire the other day. I came out in the morning to go to work and the tire was flat, and so I had to change the tire. But apparently the last time maybe the tires were worked on or whatever, they lost the tool I need. There's a on this truck, I wasn't the first owner of the truck, so I didn't put this thing on there, but they put some kind of a anti-theft device on the crane thing, or the winch or whatever you want to call it, that raises the tire up underneath the bed. And there's a little tool that goes on the end of, I think it goes on the end of your jack, the thing you crank the jack with, and is gone. And so man, it was hard to get the tire off, because without that tool, you can reach up around above the tire and grab onto the thing, but there's this little plastic cone on it, and it's got like sharp edges unless you have a glove or something, and you got to turn it pretty hard to get it loose. And I couldn't quite turn it by hand, so I had to put the jack underneath there's a cable that comes down. It's got a spring on it and some kind of washer with a crimp thing, and I was able to put the jack under the spring and jack it up a little bit, and then I could turn that deal by hand. And anyway, as a consequence of that, I kind of checked into buying the key, but you pretty much have to replace the whole unit, which means the key thing that turns, it's kind of like an anti-theft lug nut on a tire. It has this pattern in it, and you have to replace that and the wrench thing that goes on the end of the crank. So I thought, I got a machine shop, I'll just make one. So I bought a piece of a rod, and I've machined the end of this rod to accept that, or to go into that socket. That's that anti-theft socket on the winch thing, and I put a little handle on it so I can crank it to raise and lower the tire. Kind of a little bit of an overkill for this, but to machine it to go on the end of that crank for the jack is even more work than this, so I just did this. It was easier to do this. So this video is going to be about actually doing that, and the machine work itself isn't that hard, but this little shape, I don't know if you can see this. I'll take some close-up pictures of the deal in the truck, and this thing, I made this little facsimile. In the shop here, we use this what they call this repo rubber. I don't know if you can read that, and it's stuff we use mostly for inspection purposes. There's two parts to it. It comes in to show you here, there's kind of like it's sort of like an epoxy, but it's rubber. So there's a catalyst and a what do they call it? The base and the catalyst. And so you put equal parts of these together. The one is kind of blue, and the catalyst is white or an off-white color, and you put equal parts of this together, and you just knead it together, and then it sets up kind of like a rubber. See, this stuff is rubbery. It's kind of hot in here today. My glasses keep falling down on. And so, but this stuff kind of maintains dimensions. So when you put it into whatever you're trying to measure with it, it kind of it doesn't shrink. And so it's mostly used for, if you can't get a measuring tool into something, maybe on the machine or inspection or something, you can force this in there and cast it and then take it out. I don't know how it works as far as release. It doesn't stick to the metal. It just comes off. So I made this little what I call a facsimile, but I don't know what, I made this little thing in the screw head or the jacks, the crane or whatever you call that thing that raises the tire up in there, and then, but I have to machine this, and then this is where the sort of little bit of a trick comes to it. How do you actually get that shape the easiest way to do it. So this video is going to be mostly about that, and then showing you, how this crank worked on the truck. So let's get to the CAD part of it, because the CAD part of it is really the most trickiest part. The rest of it is just programming and machining it, and I'll show you that too in the video. So let's go over to the CAD, and I'll show you how I actually established the size of this in the CAD software.
Here's the model that I drew to machine from in the CAD software. I'll show you how I go about doing this. So I'm going to hide that, and what I do is I take a photograph of the facsimile piece that I cast in there, and then I in the truck part in this case, and then I want to put the plane perpendicular to it, and I put a sketch plane on this. And what you normally do is you want to draw a circle. Well, it'd be a circle in this case. It could be a different shape depending on what you're trying to do here. But so I drew a circle. I measured the actual rubber piece around across these kind of high spots of this. I don't know what you call it, spline shape or face spline or whatever it is. And I got a diameter, and I drew a circle, and then you can enlarge and shrink this photo. If you select the photo in the CAD software and then you hit the shift key, if you see I'm down here on the left hand lower corner, and I can change the size of it by dragging it. As long as you hold the shift key down, it doesn't change proportions. And so you drag that around until you get it and reposition it to get it to the size you want. So and line it up with this circle that you've drawn at this, your origin point. Now you have to establish some kind of curves. Now this isn't the most accurate way to do something like this. I mean, if you needed an ultimate, thousandth of an inch accuracy, this wouldn't be the way to go. But for this kind of thing, it's a quick way, and it gets good enough. It worked for the wrench. I made it like this, and it fit right in. So what you got to do is select some kind of circle drawing thing. In this software, this icon up here, it's a 3-point circle, and you kind of look at this and decide, okay, that's about the end of that arc, and over here's about the end of this arc, somewhere like that, and then you try to get a point in the middle of the arc like that. You just keep going around this thing. I picked the inside contour because it's easier to see. For some reason the outside's a little bit more difficult, so this is a little easier to see it, so I picked that. Sometimes you see these other little things highlighted. It's because of the model below that I've already drawn. I'm just going to do this pretty quick. I took a little bit more time when I actually did it to get it more accurate, but I'm just going to do it quick to give you the idea of how this goes. Okay, so you basically try to lay out the arcs as best you can here. And what we're going to do is come back and trim all this off to get our contour. Okay, so that's the big arcs, and then we're going to draw small ones. And I went ahead and assumed all these small ones were the same size in this case. So in this software, when you drag it and it highlights that one, it's duplicating the size of the same. You're seeing some of the other ones from the model behind. I turned it off, but it still knows it's there. That's why you're seeing these others around here in other spots. I think I got that one the wrong size. Let's go back. Okay. I mean, you could enter in these dimensions as well. Okay, so you get all those circles drawn like that. In the case of this shape, you know, other shapes it would be different. You might have to draw curves and stuff. You go up here and select the trim tool and just start trimming all this stuff away that you don't want. And you go around and keep doing this until, I mean, this is exactly the way I did the thing to get the shape of the model. Although I took a little bit more time with it than I'm doing here, but the reason all this is kind of a more time consuming to trim is because I have this circle drawn out here, the construction circle for the so that I could get the right diameter of the photograph, you know, that's sitting below this thing. I don't know, I think you can do this in AutoCAD too, just like this. I think I saw John Saunders do this with something the other day on his channel. I think he's measuring a V block or something like that with it. So there's the contour on the inside, pretty close. I mean, it's not exact. And what I actually did, oop, don't want to do that. Had that tool selected. What I did here is I took this and I selected an offset, and I just offset it and kind of eyeballed it about out to that arc there. And after I did that, I actually selected these contours and I offset them a little bit inward to give myself clearance. I don't know what it was, like maybe 5/1000ths of an inch, like that. So I had a little clearance on, and I got rid of, oop, I don't want to do that. I accidentally deleted the picture. In fact, I'm going to turn that off now, so we don't need it now. And I'm going to get rid of these. So now we have the basic shape of the wrench, I guess you would say, or the spline, or whatever this thing is. And this is exactly the way I did it, although I took more care to get this exactly right, or closer to than this. I'm just doing it quickly right now. So now in this software, if I select this, I can pull this shape. Let me turn it sideways here. I don't need the middle of it, so I can cut that away. And I can pull this shape down. In this case, it was a 1/8 of an inch tall. Is what I made it. And then you basically draw the rest of the model, like you normally would draw a model. And you end up with wherever I put it, this shape here. So that's how you do it in the CAD software, and then you bring this into the CAM software the normal way and do the machining of all this. So it's like a quick way to do something by using a photograph in your CAD software, and as long as you can scale that photograph to the right size by drawing some element in the software, like I drew this circle here, right here, that I knew the diameter of it, and then I can scale that photograph by dragging it around until I get it more or less the size I need, and then start drawing curves and shapes around it to match what you want. So that's the way I did it, and for a lot of things this is close enough. I mean, it's not within thousandths of an inch for real precision machine work. You really wouldn't do it this way, but for this it worked perfect. And you know, how else are you going to get that shape like this that's going to fit into that? There's nothing symmetrical or the same. This thing changes as it goes around here. So that's one way to do it. That's an easy and quick way to do it. the crank comes in through the back here, through this hole in the body, and it goes up into this thing here. The cone is kind of to help guide it up in there, and then you can turn it like this. With the tire on here, I had to reach around like this and try to turn this thing by hand. But the tire is right in my way here. I don't know if you can see that. And it was very difficult, and this thing was pulled up tight. Whoever put the spare up there last pulled it up pretty tight, and I couldn't turn this thing up here with my hand. And these edges are very sharp on here on this plastic. Somebody, when they took these nuts off or something, messed the threads up a little bit. Put some grease on here.